All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. Been a little while since we've been here. Just been doing a lot of running around trying to get ready for Midwest Rep Festival. And one of the things that we're trying to get done for that is a couple of the Automate 3D auto ejects so that we can get those out there at the show and show them off prior to the Kickstarter going live. So thank you everybody for being here. Welcome on in, Lost Sank. Hey, Happy Manufacturing, how's it going? Glad to see you in here. Thank you once again for the cool deck panels that you cut for me. Hopefully I get to see you down at the next Maker Meetup down at Ecovate, which is what, 2 weeks from now. Next week we'll be in Goshen, Indiana for Midwest Rep Festival. And then the following weekend we'll be back at Ecovate doing the next Maker Meetup. So lots been going on. We are going to stream for about 2 hours today. At noon, we'll stop. I need to get gas and head back down to Ecovate and continue to work on getting the second Automate built. So I am going to have one at my table, and I'm taking one to another creator that's going to be part of the beta test. So appreciate it. So yeah, that's what's going on and why I've been not here. We're trying to get a couple of these built so that we understand the build process. There is no manual yet for it. We're going through the build process, validating the hardware that's being used. We're making some changes here or there on some files because the files that I'm building with, I will say, are very prototypey. Right? They were designed to be flexible as far as let's try this out on a different printer. Oh, this needs to be a little bit longer. So rather than have to reprint an entire piece like this, it's split in the middle. So this piece always stays the same. So we're working through some things, and we're going to try and make some suggestions back to the team back in Auckland, New Zealand, on how to, hey, let's make this work this way so that we can make it a little more rigid, stuff like that. Hey, Eagle the Dragon, welcome on in. Welcome on in. And thank you for the Happy Father's Day wishes. Yes, for those of you that are fathers, tomorrow's Father's Day. If you have a father, which should be all of you, tomorrow's Father's Day. Don't forget. But yeah, so we're getting some feedback into the automated folks. And then here, let me switch over to here real fast. So I'm talking about the automated and the auto eject. This is what I'm referring to. This is a modular design. It's basically a Cartesian printing system. It will be using Clipper, which means it's got they're using an SKR Mini E3V3 board and a Raspberry Pi to control this, and it will be able to pull a completed print plate, put it in a rack, grab another empty plate out of the rack, put it back on the printer, and then trigger the next print job on the printer. So this way, if you're doing a bunch of prints, you can have this thing running and you don't have to run back into your printer every so often to swap out a build plate, right? So the nice thing about this particular system is for smaller print farms or home-based print farms, rather than sitting there being tied to your machine and your whole creative process or day-to-day business processes are tied around pulling a print off the machine so that you can get the next print going to get your batch jobs going. Here you can have the automated swapping your build plates for you. So rather than every hour or 2 hours having to go tend to the printer, you can spend the whole day doing your creative process for your next design or packing and shipping and things like that. And you come back and you can grab 3 or 4 build plates full of material, prints off the rack, snap them, drop them off, clean your build plates, put them back in at the bottom, and automated just keeps going, right? You can go to sleep at night, and in the morning you get up and you got 3 or 4 build plates worth of prints that you can just snap off and keep going, right? So that's what the design of this is here for. This is going Kickstarter. They did push the go live date back. I believe it's going to be June 30th now. And that gives us time to have one of these at the show at MRRF to get a little bit more hype up on this before it goes live. The other thing we will be doing is we did get our DXC extruder in. This is a drop-in replacement extruder for a K1, K1C, K1 Max style printer. Once we get back from the show, we will be doing this mod or this upgrade on our K1C. So we'll be putting the DXC extruder on, we'll be putting in a Fadus nozzle, and we'll be doing that once we get back from the show. Maybe we'll even do this the following weekend while we're down at Ecovate. And then what we've been working on the stream over the last few streams has been our RIFF 600 build. This is a 300 by 600 build volume. There is a 300 by 900 version of this, basically just making your Y extrusions and your Y linear rails an extra 300 millimeters long to account for having a third bed in there. And then once again, it would be a third power supply and a third MOSFET so that you can trigger those beds only when needed. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So without wasting any more time, let's get back, into the build system, or the build here. And I'll bring you bench side and kind of show you where we're at. I did go ahead and wind our bed rails up some. We do have the lead screws in now, so I raised these up and they're going to stay up here for a while we continue to work down here in the deck panel. So what we got down here on the deck, there's normally two printed cross members that go right here. We yeeted those and we put 120/40 right in the middle. And what that's going to do is, one, give us a little bit more structural rigidity here. Having two prints, it can bow a bit. I don't know, but it could possibly. So this is going to add a little bit more structural rigidity to it. This also gives me places where I can do some tie-down clips and manage my wiring a bit. Also, having this allows me to do the drop DIN rail system that I have in here for my PSUs. The original drop holders for the PSUs that would have a PSU here and one over on this side don't work with the feet that I'm using. It needs some taller feet than the normal boron compressor feet. So that could have been, including a 3D printed shim so that you can raise it up a little bit more. Or really the design of the, what I do with them. No, I still have them. Here we go. The design of these parts, it's made for thicker, because it looks like he has thicker, possibly 12 volt or older 24 volt power supplies, and they're thicker units. The LRS units are thinner, and a lot of this bottom part could be cut off, and that would allow it to work as well. And it could have just been that I came back and reprinted these and just did a cut to cut this bottom portion off. I just felt it was easier, less material to print these and do the DIN clips or the drop DIN rails, because I'm kind of used to doing that and I have plenty of DIN material. So I did it that way. And like I said, this way I get my two power supplies here. Rather than having all my power supplies on one side, I think this gives me better weight distribution across the printer. So yeah, I mean, it's an option, right? This is an option, and this should work on either type of, whether you've got the thinner LRS or the thicker. If you go get UHPs, which are way expensive these days, you can run your UHPs, and there would be a way where you could run. The thing I like about the UHPs is I could set them up and have all of my mains voltage in one small area, and everything on the other side is all DC. That's the one thing I like about my UHPs. But anyhow, this works. This is an option. I have mentioned it. I have shown these to him as well. So this is an option that the designer can go with. You'll see that some of my wires here are loose. That's because I did not fully tighten down the zip ties to allow me to run other cables through. We will be running in and running our cables for the motors today. And when we do that, we're going to have to re-terminate everything because the wires are going to be way too long in certain things. Yeah, the UHPs are nice, but they're hella pricey right now. And with the cost, with tariffs and everything, the UHPs, I can get 2 of the LRS 350s for the cost of a UHP 350. So it just made sense to go ahead and get the bigger ones. Now, once again, from the printer's kinematic perspective, right? This is the front of the machine. This is the front left motor, rear left motor, rear right motor, right front motor. So 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's the way we're going to wire these. So this is Z0, and that's going to be critical when we go and we do our config, because we're going to set up Z tilt adjust for this. And when we do that, this is Z0, Z1, Z2, Z3. Okay, so we'll start from here with our wires. I've got several sets of wires here, and like I said, some of them are going to be long, and we'll just cut them down to size. And I don't really care that some of these have DuPont connectors on one end and the 6-pin JSTs on the other, because I'm going to be cutting this end off that has the DuPont connector anyhow to make it fit. The other thing to remember is we really, in a sense, don't care about the colors of the wire. If you've got 4 of the same type of, or the same color scheme wire, great. That makes life a little bit easier. If you don't, you have to mix and match. So be it. It is what it is, and you'll be able to still figure that out. So we'll go ahead and get this plugged into the motor. And then we'll take the other end and work it through our zip ties, which hopefully I didn't make this one too tight already. Nope, good. And I'm printing off some more of the zip tie holders now, just so I'll have a few extra. And we'll add some more in here just to keep our zip tied wires nice and neat. And you'll notice that these ones right here are slipping around. This is T slot, this is V slot. So the Trident ones that I'm using here work great on the T slot. They don't hold very well on the V slot. So I am printing out some V slot specific ones, and we'll use the appropriate ones where we need to. And so we're going to kind of just make sure that we're good, but we have a little bit of wire left over here for some strain relief. And I'm going to bring this underneath. And once again, this is going to be Z1, which is going to be this first motor right here. So we'll go about right there. We'll give this a cut, and we can clip these as appropriate for JST and get them down in there. And all I'm going to do is follow this order, and we'll get that in that order. We'll get these terminated, and before we go ahead and put them in, we will double check the phases, and we'll do that by holding two of them together and try and move the motor. If it moves easy, then we don't have a phase. If we put two together and then it's a little bit harder to move, we know we found a phase, and we'll be able to do our wiring based on that. But we'll get some connectors out. Get our strippers and crimpers. Now on JSTs, you don't need to strip very much of the wire. If you're doing DuPont or microfit, you can strip a little bit more of the wire. Here we're just going to be stripping like 2 millimeters of wire. Really doesn't need to be much at all. Hey Waters, how's it going? I'm feeling a little better. The pain in my ear is down a bit. We've got the drops that I'm having to put in my ear every night, and then even though I'm not supposed to be taking any NSAIDs, I am taking one a day just to help with some of the swelling. And I am going to sit down as I work on this. So we'll just go through and work this one at a time. We'll do one motor at a time so that we make sure that we're getting our wiring done in the right order and that we're getting these and then like I said, later this afternoon, about noon, I'll end this stream and we'll head down to Ecovate and continue working on the automated build. I have not been streaming that build because we're still in the beta, or I guess not even beta, but we're helping the team test, and then once it goes into Kickstarter, there will be another build that is done on stream, and we'll most likely have the automated folks on that stream with us. Talking through it, kind of a podcast style as we're doing the build, so that everybody will be able to ask questions. And Waters, are you working at Ecovate today, or will you be at the store? The projected costs on this unit, it depends, right? It depends on how much equipment you have available from other printers. The goal behind this is a low-cost printer that reuses material from other printers or printers that he had on hand. So we've got 12 millimeter rods for the Z-axis. I've never used 12 millimeter rods until this build, and the automated uses 12 millimeter rods. So that's the first time I've used 12 millimeter rods. So I had to go get some 12 millimeter rod stock for this, right? And LM8 or LM12 UU bearings. So not a big issue. It's just something to be aware of. The complete brain fart that I just had. The build plates as well. I went out and bought some inexpensive build plates. They are 24 volt CR10, which are 300 size build plates. The two build plates, the magnets, and the PEI sheets wound up being around $150, $175. If I went and got Mike 6 build plates with heaters and everything, I was going to be well north of $300 just in build plates. Right? So some of that depends on what you have available and what you're going to be sourcing. The deck panels. Happy was nice enough to cut me a set of ACM deck panels. If you're doing the printed ones, then it's the cost of print materials. God, why are words on stream hard? If you print it, then you'll have your two printed supports. You'll print your deck panels. Just be mindful that the middle deck panels here will not fit on a 300 size bed. So you're either printing them on this printer in PETG, or you're printing it on a larger printer that you already have available in whatever material that you can. So that's just something to be aware of. The motors and stuff like that, these were motors that I already had on hand from previous projects. They're using the external MOSFETs. If you're using standard Mike 6 beds with mains heaters from Canovo, then you're dealing with SSRs. So it's just really going to depend on what you have currently available in your stock and what you need to buy. Really, I mean, $9 mil belts most people don't have on hand, but that's not that expensive. Probably self-sourced anywhere from $600 to $900, depending on what deals you go and find and how long you're willing to wait for things to come in. And once again, that's a basic build, no frills, no craziness. Assuming you have a spare hot end that you can build that you can throw into. We're going to be using a dragon burner here, right? He's put a stealth burner on it and a dragon burner. But remember, you only have one belt up here, so he's got a modified dragon burner mount. You're only going to have one belt at the top, so if you do a stealth burner, you'd have to do some type of modified mount for it. So yeah. Hey, Glendon, welcome on in. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. So we just got motor 0 routed around and logged or connected. Now we'll do motor 1 over here. Do I have the right order sequence for these? We'll see. We'll see. I do know that I have the pairings side by side. As I was talking, I was also checking that out. You guys probably didn't see me do that, but I did check them out, and they are, it goes red, green, blue, excuse me, black, green, red, blue is the pairings of the phases. So, and I have no zip ties through here already, so we'll have to work on those zip ties once I get this through. So we're going to bring this under and then route it through with the other wires that we have down this side. Not catching. And once again, I'll add a couple of zip ties right there and zip tie that stuff down. I don't believe there's any other underdeck wiring. Everything else is going to be coming down, and we'll do a single USB cable going between the Raspberry Pi and the secondary controller that will be mounted up on this rear rail here. And that will provide the all the connections for the upper gantry. So the extruder, the hot end, the thermistor, the XY motors will all go through that top, through the top controller over here, the second controller. If you remember when we did the Annex Engineering K3, we did two controllers. We had a standard, I think we did the SKR3EZ board as the main controller, and that was able to run all the fans and everything. And then the stepper drivers on that board, or on the second board, it was the Annex Engineering Constellation board, and that was just the 5160s to drive the X and Y motors. And we're doing something sort of similar here, with the fact that we'll have our X and Y motors and everything else on a secondary board and just USB connection back to the Raspberry Pi. And once again, we're just going to keep feeding this through. Bring it under just like the other one. Cut this to an appropriate length as well. And we'll get this one stripped and crimped. Hey Liz, good morning. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. We're just working on wiring our motors up on the RIFF. Once again, this is our semi-slow burn build. I will say that I know that the designer has done a lot of the electronics already, or at least has a bunch of the wiring done according to his post on his YouTube subscriber feed. But they were on vacation. Now they did respond to my make post about, you know, the deck panels and stuff like that. So I know that they are out there looking at posts, but you know, they're on vacation. They'll get their next updated video and stuff when they're off vacation. But right now we're just getting our motors wired up because that's the next logical step to getting everything done under the deck panel. We'll have to get the motors done, and then we'll build out our connections for the heated beds. And then once that's done, we can put in our deck panels. We'll run a single USB-C cable up through the deck panel, and that's what we'll need to do to connect everything at the top. So we won't have a lot of work to do there, and we can close up the lower deck panel. And then once again, we do have a hard stop at noon where I am going to stop work here and relocate over to Ecovate. And I'm going to work on getting the auto ejects built. I've got one physical build pretty much done. I'm just waiting on the cable chain parts. And then I'm working on getting the second one built. So one will be at my table, one will be going to another beta tester. And then when I get back, I'll have a third one to build, which will be the one that stays at Ecovate. New cheater sub badge. Whoop, whoop. Okay. So we got those. I'm going to make it match the last one we did. So if anything, our direction will be, I'm pretty sure that's what it'll be, is just be the direction is going the wrong way, which is an easy fix. So black, green. Okay, so there's 0, 1. Now we're going to do 2 and 3, and these are going to be a lot shorter. Oy. No, it's a dragon. In fact, your cheater dragon badge, it looks a little something like that. So once again, thanks to Happy Manufacturing for the really cool deck panels and giving it some flair for us. All right, so we're going to be going here and then across. Yeah, I was expecting the cut panels. I wasn't expecting the etching, so that was a nice surprise. So, like I said, thank you again to Happy, and I'm looking forward to meeting them in person at the Ecovate meetup soon. Once again, I've been throwing some announcements out there on the socials. I will be having OTTOeject at my booth. Should be working with a Prusa Mark IV. And I will have a second one there that I will be delivering to somebody. And then that Kickstarter should go in on, I believe it's the 30th is the Kickstarter date now, June 30th. And then I will be building a box turtle at the show and giving it away on Sunday. Thanks to Chewy. All righty. These are the right size, right? No, no, they are not. This hell looks like the right size. Yeah, these are the right size. Okay. Got too many different types of connectors. I just have to try and figure out, is this the right size or the next smaller size or what have you. Waters, once again, are you planning on being at the store later? Ah, no, I don't really need assistance. I was just wondering if you're going to be there. Just wondering. Um, I will say the one thing that we were working on that we were told to stop is back on. Don't know where that connector went, but we'll fish that off the ground later. Um, don't know. They're testing it this weekend. Um, they had a test print in resin, but the specs were way off because resin will uh, when you cure it, it shrinks and it changes shape. So you have to understand how it changes and then adjust the model accordingly. I mean, same thing you're going to have to do with the FDM. Things will change shape and shrink some. So you will need to um, adjust some parameters here and there, but I'm waiting to see how well it holds up under testing. Okay. There will be a zip tie point right here. I tried to move it and broke it off. So one more. One of the other things I am planning on doing is using a 24 to 5 volt buck converter to power the Raspberry Pi. And when I do that, rather than come in the GPIO pins, what my plan is to come in through the USB connector and just cut the end off of a USB connector and wire it into the buck converter. And the reason you do that is there is protection circuitry on that USB connector that is not in place on the GPIOs. And I just tend to get better overall power out of running it that way versus the GPIOs when I can. The GPIOs work, don't get me wrong, but I just wind up getting under voltage randomly for no apparent reason. Hey, Chewy, how's it going? Chewy is the newly minted person being thrown under the bus for my box turtle builds now. It was Thunder Keys, now it's Chewy since he got the one for MRRF. So Thunder Keys made sure that Mrs. Dragon was aware that this build and any crunch time stress was caused by Chewy. It's all good, my dude. We'll be at MRRF in 7 days. Yeah, we're leaving Thursday and driving up. So we'll be there from Thursday. And I want to tell everybody, I think I said we were staying at the Hampton. We're not. We're staying at the Fairfield. But it's the one that's right behind the Starbucks there on the main drag. So my mistake. All right, have a good one, Waters. Tell the missus hello. Tesla's going to get some breakfast. Get it. Go get it. I've got coffee right now that I made here. Mrs. Dragon's going to get me some new coffee that'll come in shortly. And then, like I said, at noon, we'll end the stream here so I can relocate down to Ecovate and work on some stuff down there. And I happen to have taken a Keurig into there so I can get my coffee fix on there. Hey, Big Jono, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, my friend. And Jano, I believe you're going to be at MRRF, correct? All right, so we've got stuff going there. We'll be able to tie those two right there. We've got these zip ties. We got those zip ties. I didn't zip tie over here just because I will have thermistor wires that'll need to come down here. Yeah. We'll be bringing the project builder printer you're rebuilding to hopefully have working at some point during the weekend. Well, there you go. I will be there to assist however we can. Like I said, we're getting into town on Thursday, so I'll have plenty of time to get in there and set up on Friday. I think they're going to do like they did last year, or at least it sounds like it is, and they're going to open up the venue on Friday to people wanting to come in, which is perfectly fine. But yeah. Okay, let's see. A few of these I can snip off now. I've already tightened them down. This one I will probably cut off because I didn't even think I've got my fan wire that's going to need to come around and get plugged in. The nice thing with zip ties is they're easy to remove and redo. This one's still loose. These are still loose. These ones were made tight. Once again, I'll have a fan wire that I'll probably need to cut the ones in front here off. But for now, we'll get the tails out of our way. We'll work on those fan wires a little bit. Yeah, we'll work on the fan wires a little bit later. I think I'll reorient this fan so that the wires are coming out towards the front here, meaning this fan, the wires coming out on this side. I'll clock it 180 degrees so it's coming out towards this motor. We'll bring it around, and what I might do is put a we'll put one of these on there, and we'll have the two fans come into here, and then one connection that comes out of here to a fan port on the board. That way we can manage both fans together because they're going to be the controller fans. We'll just have to extend that wiring out to make those JST jumpers right there. I'll print that part out later. The next thing that we're going to need to do is grab our bed system. And just set it up on here. Setting up here loosely. We'll work on getting this tied in. Later, we'll need to figure out the front to back. So here's the bed system right here, the 2020s that the bed's sitting on. We're going to have to get this measured out to make sure it's straight front to back. And then we'll bring our x-axis all the way to the front. And we'll kind of figure out where our end stop, or not the end stops, but the end of the bed needs to be. So if this goes all the way back, are we still on the bed? All the way forward, are we still on the bed? We'll get this set front to back and then side to side, meaning this way, gap appropriately. Make sure we have no skew to it. And then we'll be able to get set up here. We need to get our M5 screws in there. We'll get this set up. The one thing I wanted to look at is the wiring and how our wiring will run. Once again, we do have our 2 sets of wiring. We are using these connectors. Not sure if I fully like these or not, but it is what we've got. The only other option I would have is to physically solder these. And for giggles, need to lift this back up and look at it. Not necessarily for giggles, but for safety reasons. Positive to the left, negative to the, well, positive, we'll say to the back, and negative to the front. Okay. Our connectors go with the locking clip towards the top. And I am going to need to bring these down the 2020. Cable tie them down with a little bit of strain relief. Then we'll bring them down into the deck. And we will have, we are going to be looking at doing some type of cable chain down to our piece here. So I need to figure that piece out. And we'll probably have to extend some of those wires. But that's what I'm trying to look for now, is where's our front to back, side to side? Are my cables going to be good here, especially with the, you can't see it right there, but let me go to the overhead shot. So this connector, perfectly fine. We got plenty of room between anything here. This connector we've got up next to the lead screw and our our things. So we're going to need to make sure that we've got good cable management right here to keep it from rubbing up against everything. We need to make sure that our bed is not cockeyed and is front to back, side to side. If I lose some bed travel, to make sure that we're good on our cables, I'll lose bed travel to make sure that we're good on cables. We are using sensorless homing, so this right here is going to be X max. And by raising this bed up, what I'll be able to do is slide this all the way down here to make sure that I'm visually not at an angle. I will measure, don't worry about that, I will measure, but I'm just trying to make sure that we're visually, as much as possible, straight front to back. Our printed parts are definitely 90 degrees, so that's going to help as well when we lock those in. I'm going to go ahead and do the front side here, and that should lock us in, and then we'll continue to work on wiring. I think the bed coming down is the only other thing that goes under deck, except, well, the bed and the fans, and then the underdeck wiring will be done. And I'm quasi waiting on him to provide the files for the case and stuff, though if need be, I'm sure I can come up with one of those. It's not going to have the Raspberry Pi. It's just going to be the, in this case, he was using an SKR Pico, but I can use just about any other board down here and get that done. Hey, Zombie, how's it going? Hey, Steve Builds, how's it going? So, Steve, this is the RIFF 600. The gentleman that's designing this, V4 Projects, he's, I believe, Sweden or Switzerland, one of the two. Maybe Norwegian, somewhere up there. But it's a 600 or 900. So this is the 600 build. So 300 build plates. You can do a 900 build by extending it one more to the side, and your Y rails get cut an extra 300 millimeters, so it'd be 1,075, and you would need, I think it's like 950 or full meter long linear rails. So, what probe are you using? So I'm going to put a Dragon burner on here, and I believe I've got the mount that will let me do a cartographer or beacon. So that is my plan, is to use a cartographer or beacon for this build. Yeah. I can tell you so far, I'm using a pair of CR10 24 volt beds. So they're the aluminum with the printed circuit board crappiness. And I'm going to give that a shot, because once again, the purpose of this build is lower cost, using stuff that you already have on hand without having to go and buy a bunch of stuff. I had to buy a bunch of stuff because we use 12 millimeter rods for the Z. And I don't have 12 millimeter stock, but now I do. Linear rails, you're getting the Y linear rails regardless. The cross rails right here are standard Voron size, so if you build Vorons, you probably have a spare on hand somewhere around. And then the rest of it is extrusions of different type. My 2020 is T slot. My 2040 is V slot. So you make do with your slots. Now the bed systems that I'm running here, the two CR10 24 volt beds with the magnets and the build plates, this is about $150 to $175. If you go with the Mic 6 build plates, you're not getting the Mic 6 build plates, one of those for like 170 bucks. If you go and get them off of AliExpress, good luck. I'm not sure when you're going to get them, and I'm not sure what the tariff's going to be by the time you get them. Right? So the build plates, if you go with Mic 6, are going to be expensive. So I'm going to try it this way. If I have any major issues with bowing and tacoing, then I figure I'll go and buy the build plates or something like that. Yes, I wanted to try and lock the tops in here, and I have a feeling that all of my M5 hardware is, yes. Folks, I will be right back. I'm going to need to go get my M5 hardware. It is sitting down in the truck for when I go to Ecovate. So bear with me for one moment. I'll leave you here on the build, and I will mute the mic, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back, and I brought the, whoops, we got the Dunkin' Run. So, yeah, so I've been using a case that I appropriated from Evil Diesel, but it's a Gridfinity case. And because I keep running back and forth with my 5mm hardware, it's easy enough to just take it out of the container and put it in there. So now I just need to get our rolling T-nuts in place so that we can slide them forward and screw them down. And what I miss. Chewy and Big Jano talking about meeting up. We gotta remember to talk to KB3D about the next KB3D open house event as well. Because that's got to be a thing. We've got to figure that out of when that's coming up next. Okay, so the front ear brackets are attached to the 2020 cross member for the bed rails. Now what I need to do is get this direction lined up. And once again, I'm going to be looking at the actual center point here and making sure it pretty much rides right down along the side of the bed. And then I'm also going to just do a quick eyeball measurement from the bed, and we'll say to the linear rail itself. Yeah. Dang, them some good eyeballs. About 71 millimeters from the edge of the build plate to the linear rail. And that's front and back the same. So we'll call that good, and we'll lock in the front ears to the X cross members. And so by doing this, this will lock in the bed. We haven't done anything to the backside yet. I should say the left side. Let me check the gap between the front rail and the bed. Yep, that's good as well. So I'll be able to connect the backside pieces as well. And then that will lock our bed in. And then we'll be able to do our wiring. Once again, my plan is to mount some wire tie downs on the 2020 and then bring things around on that 2020. But I also need to figure out how I'm going to do the cable chain right here that'll come down through the deck panel. We may just go umbilical and do it the easy way. We'll see. We'll see how I want to be, basically. Then I put all of my hardware over here where it'll be out of reach from me. We'll go ahead. We're using M5 and M5 by 10 button head screws. So come around on this side. So some other people that'll be online here soon. We'll have Lee Marie 3D will be working on their cell changer, doing some wiring and stuff. I think they're in a push to get it done for the show. And then Steve Builds will be on a little bit later, and he will be working on his rebuild of one of his bears, if I remember right. One of his Prusa Mark III bear builds. So both of those are over on YouTube, not over here on Twitch, but if I am not in a Discord meeting with Automated going through stuff, I will have those up once I get to one of those up once I get to Echovate. And folks, I do have my back to the chat window right now, so if I'm not responding to a chat message, just bear with me momentarily. Okay. Bed is mounted. Bed wires are dangling down. We'll need to work on bed wiring, and we'll need to work on these two fans. And I did want to swap, turn this fan around just to give me some more room to work with on the wire. Make it easier to route the wire as well. So once again, this is the RIFF 600. This is a 300 by 600 build. There is a 900 version of this, which will let you, of course, run 900 millimeters long on the y-axis. x-axis, y-axis. And hey, Rothgar, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Yep, monthly maker stream, working on the Blue Bear build. Yep. I kind of miss my bears. All three of my bear builds are over at Evil Diesel's house, aka Site B. I don't go over and visit them enough. So I do have another Mark III I will be picking up from Maker Mine Nexus at Midwest Rep Rap Festival. I will be getting his Mark III and a Full Sun. I think it's a Speed Racer Delta printer from him. Yes, the nice thing about this is you can do bigger pieces and like doing chess pieces for cosplay. You're normally doing them in 4, 5, 6 different pieces. Here you can cut it right down the middle and potentially do like one half and have 2 side halves that come together, right? So that's the whole purpose of this, is being able to do bigger plate pieces or bigger pieces for cosplay so you don't have to break things up as much. Now for articulation, there might be a reason to break it up still, but this is really designed for doing the larger build surfaces that won't need to be articulated. Gotta have autocorrect sometime, don't you, Sothgar? Yeah, so that's all we're doing, is we're kind of slow rolling this build. This was kind of a between shows build. We knew we didn't have a lot of time between the builds, and working on these wires, I'm going to have to cut the ends and resolder these to extend these wires out. Where's my tweezers? So we'll work on doing that. I'm going to just use my the heat shrink solder joints on these, just because, well, it's easier. And I'm going to be semi-lazy. And I'm going to need some red and black wire. Now here's the deal, is I could take some of the wire left over from the motor wires that we just used. So I can use some of that. I can use some standard FEP wire. I mean, there's all kinds of things I can use here. And in fact, I think what I'll do is I'll just look at my wire here that I used from the will this be long enough? Yeah. So we'll use the wire from one of the motor wires. We use red and black, of course, for the one. We'll use blue and green for the other one. Just what it is. It's should I look for black and red on 2 of them? Yes, I should, but I'm not going to be that picky. I'm not going to be that picky. I'm just going to use these and we'll go with it. So once again, red and black will match up with the red and black over on this side. And we'll use the blue and the green on the other side. I can just use the red and black from one of the shorter wires because it'll be short. Yeah, I'll probably do that. What the hell? You guys like how I talk through things in my head out loud? All right, so we've got those sides stripped, and what we're going to use are, I get these on Amazon, they're Wirefly, but they're just solder seal connectors. So you've got heat shrink tubing with a ball of solder that goes around the middle. So you just line it up, you'll heat shrink it around the wire, and hit that solder joint until you see the solder melt, and boom, you're done. You've got a strong connection that's not going to go anywhere. And all you need is a heat gun to heat it up. So you don't need to break out all your soldering and then or your solder gun and then your heat gun for your heat shrink and everything. You can just do it all in one shot. I know you can't see that because it's underneath the build plate, but what I'm doing is I'm heating the solder or heating the heat shrink on each side to shrink the wire in, and then I just concentrate on the actual center part where the solder is. And then you'll want to hold this either straight if you want it straight, or if you need a little bit of a bend, you can hold it at a little bit of a bend, and the heat shrink will conform to whichever you're trying to do. So these are good little connectors. I've had really good luck with these and getting good solid connections. So Um, well, once again, this is a 300 by 600, so a 400 cubed is going to give you a different volume size that you can do prints on. But I will tell you that anything above a 350, the Voron crew just kind of, I don't want to say frowns on, but 2020 for that length, you need that extra support to add the rigidity to it. That's why we've got these verticals on the sides. All right, sounds good, Jeno. Hey, Jedi Spidey, how's it going? All right, so I'm going to loop these around the Z motors, maybe. Be like doing a root canal because of how tight it is to the. There we go. So we'll loop these around. We'll want to join these into the zip tie spot, so I will have to redo that. I'll cut and redo those. Sorry, folks. And then we'll work on the extending the other wire. We'll join them once again in a 2-to-1 connector that LVO kind of came up with for a lot of their builds. As soon as I find my snips, that is. All the wires are in that loop. And we'll do that loop again. The other one. First, make sure you're cutting the zip tie and not your wires. You don't want to short any wires out. All right, we'll extend this other wire out. Doing the same thing. We won't need as long of a cable, so let's grab one of our. That's not going to make it. Well, this one. That one's probably not going to make it either. Yeah, it looks like we're going to use the blue and green. So blue is sky, green is the ground or the lawn or the grass. So we'll use blue to red and then green to black. Maybe making some people cringe here, but I apologize in advance. grabbing a bite to eat, then getting cleaned up. Then hey, yeah, I'm going to stop the stream here at noon or thereabouts and head over to Ecovate, and I will see you there, Jedi Spidey. You're in East Tennessee? Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty cool spot. And the Meet the Polymaker thing was a really cool interview. It got Beverly a chance to get more people aware of her store. But yeah, it's been a nice place to hang out and work on some projects. We did the 13-hour build of the Prusa Core 1 there at the shop, and it now lives at the shop along with my Mark IV and my Prusa Mini. I will be bringing those home at some point, but for now they're on display because she is a Prusa reseller as well as a Prusa authorized service provider. And then I'm going to be taking my Centauri Carbon down there today so that she can do some videos, some TikTok videos and stuff like that, because she will be selling the Centauri Carbons there. She's got, I believe, 10 of them coming in. So that'll be another nice thing that we can have there. I do know we have a few people talking about coming down out of Virginia. I believe Thunder Keys is coming out on the 28th if everything stays the same. He was going to Midwest Rep Festival, and I was going to take him back the box turtles that I still have from RIFF. But some plans had to change, so he's going to come down and visit us at Ecovate, and we'll just take him as box turtles there. Hey, Shrimp Father, how's it going, my friend? Welcome in. Yep. Yeah, it's just in some of these builds, like if I was building this for somebody, it would be different, and I would be very stickler about the wiring colors and stuff like that. Because I'm building this for me, and whoever gets this would be getting a printer that they are very well aware of that is a custom build, then they would be able to, they would be of a flavor where they build printers, and they would be able to tell that, right? You don't take and do something like I'm doing here and changing colors with a novice person who's never built a printer. You're leading for bad things. All right. So we've got that. I think I need to print out the mount still. I need to find the mount file and print that out. So we'll get that printed, and I'll mount that off stream. I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty easy with a, positive, negative from the two going in, and then positive, negative coming out to a fan. Yeah, a mechanic or electrician's house is never the example to follow. Exactly. Exactly. There's stuff that we'll do in our own houses or in our own projects that we won't do for others. Um, I've got a couple of projects I'm working on at Ecovate as well. We've got a pair of Voron 2.4s that I'm fixing up and a V01 that I'm fixing up. The V01 is going to get updated to a mini stealth burner, which will use a 3010 fan, which I have on hand. And then both the 2.4s were running afterburners. That's just the way they came to me. The one had provided a stealth burner, so it will be getting updated to a stealth burner. The other one potentially will be getting updated to a stealth burner as well. Then the one that came with the stealth burner also has a tap, a printed tap. I'm not sure if I'll leave it with the printed tap or update it to a CNC tap that I have on hand here. But the downside of that is it's the direct wire tool head currently, and the pre-built stealth burner that they handed me, has a stealth burner board on it for the 20 pin microfit. So I'm going to have to recrimp all of the loose wires into a microfit multi-pin connector. So that's going to be fun. Or I just say the hell with it and go buy a full harness from Lenio, from like KB3D or something, and be lazy. Then I just pull the existing harness out and we'll redo it later. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not lazy. That's being efficient with my time. What is... I love the noises printers make that feel like they're trying to self-destruct themselves. Okay. And like I said, I've got a couple more prints that I need to do of some of the cable chains or cable ties, so we can tie this up and make this wiring a little bit nicer. And then we'll just keep going with the wiring. It is getting close to the 12 o'clock hour. So I'm going to work on terminating these, and then we'll call it a stream. Like I said, please feel free to head over to YouTube and watch Steve Builds. If you're a channel member, if you're not, why aren't you? He does a lot of really cool builds. He's where I get a lot of my good tips and tricks from, because he is full of them. And if you have tool envy, don't worry. You'll watch his stream and you'll start buying tools left and right. I've got many a tool that he has suggested, such as the tried and true and trusty, what is this now? iCrimp. It's the iCrimp now. It used to be iWisp, but the iCrimp crimpers, I love these. The kit that I have in my flyaway is it's one that has the dual action, so you're doing both crimps at the same time. It works, but it's kind of a pain. I'm getting better at it, but it's just not as easy as doing the 2 crimps one after the other. I need to get crimps on these, and then we'll figure out which way we go. The Mad Max repo. No, I hadn't ripped that side yet. And then once again, we'll also have Lee Marie 3D. So Jeremy and Kilo will be on a little bit later. They're working on their stealth changer. I will say that I have been talking with Jason at LDO, and I will have a stealth changer upgrade coming for Fey Dragon. So Fey Dragon here will be getting a stealth changer mod soon. We'll mod this one. The box turtle will come off and possibly be used on a different printer, but Fey Dragon is going to get a stealth changer mod. That will be another project that comes on board after Midwest Rep Festival. And then let's see, we've got the 0G Ender 5 plus size rebuild that's going to happen. So that is our 370, 370, 420 build. We've got all the parts here to do that. That's going to get a Nebula frame, which is the custom frame design. So we'll be building the frame up. Then we'll bring the existing machine up here and start piece parting it apart, because when we do the upgrade, we're going to go to CNC parts for the gantry, thanks to Turtle Crawler for those, for the design files. And we'll be going to CNC parts with 9mm belts. We'll have a extra special tool head for it. And some other upgrades along the way that I think everyone's going to like. So, yeah, lots of goodness coming to the channel this year. Just really trying to find the time and the order to work on things. But we will get there. I'm going to be attempting to do more YouTube content, as in more semi-structured videos, though it may just be YouTube-specific live streams versus, edited content, just because I'm really not a video editor. I'm not a video editor, and I don't have the money to pay for a video editor. So, yeah. All right. Fans. Which way does the fan connector go? Mouse. We got a mouse. This is a SKR13. So we are using an SKR13 for this particular build as the main board. Let's see, based on what we have here, where's my fans? We've got a 1224 out. This is an always on fan. And we've got the CNC fan. I believe this CNC fan is the one that is controlled, has a pin to control it. Positive on the left, negative on the right, based on that view. Can I confirm that? It's going to be a good question. Yes. So positive on the left, negative on the right. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that all of my fans are the same way. So if I ever do reconfigure these, it should just be a plug and play. So positive on the left when you're looking at the prong connectors that hold it in. And we said our positive was blue and our negative was the green for the other side. And then I'll need a jumper to go there of a little bit of a length. So I'll grab one of the other motor wires here. That should be plenty big enough, and we'll just snag the wires off of this to make that jumper. And we'll go with red and black. We'll stay decent on this one. And then, like I said, I'll just have to print the mount, and then we can connect the mount to our 2040 down here and get that wired up, no problem. Let's go ahead and get all four wire or parts of the wire stripped. And there's the alarm. I'll go ahead and crimp these, and I will go ahead and try and take a quick look. Not a video editor yet. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm sure I could figure out a way of making it happen. We'll just use AI, right? Isn't that what we do, is just use AI for everything now? And I'll need a couple of the 2-pin connectors here. And once again, negative is going to be on the right side of that connector. Positive will be on the other side. That's one side. Do the other side. Once again, it'll need to be the same way. So the positive will be on the left. Negative will be on the right as you're looking from the, I'll say the top of the connector, which is the side that has the locking lugs on the connector that would go into the board, the JST. So you like your hands to have 5 fingers. Well, I'm talking about using AI to edit the video, not come up with like thumbnail images or anything like that. Okay, so we now have our little pigtail jumper made. Well, supposedly, if I can get it to go in the, there we go. So we've got our little pigtail jumper made. And what we'll be able to do next is we'll get this all ready to get connected. We'll have all 3 wires sitting over here ready to be connected. Easier said than done, apparently. Here we go. So we got the little pigtail into the board. We have our 2 fan wires ready to go. So as soon as we get the little print done for our connector, we'll be able to connect those up and get those jumpered into the 1 fan input. So once again, we've got our jumper wire, which will come over here, and we'll have our fan 1, fan 2 inputs. So these will get jumpered into the board. This will get jumpered into the board. One of the reasons why this is long is this board's on a tray, so we'll be able to remove 2 screws and pull this tray forward to look at and work on anything. So we don't want our cable lengths to be like so tight that we can't pull that board out to look at anything. The other thing I'm trying to do is make sure that we get our bed wires coming down through here, and that's good because if I ever need to do any electronics work, it's lifting this 1 panel up and out, and I should be able to get to just about everything from there without having to flip this thing over on its side. But yeah, there we go. And folks, it's now 12:05, so I'm going to figure out a potential raid target. No idea what this is, but we'll figure out a potential raid target real fast. Let's see who's up and running this morning. Looks like Shenanigans is up and running. There's Prillo, Ugly Moo, Only Dez. Yeah, let's go jump into Shenanigans. Looks like he's doing some CAD and playing some Minecraft with his son. So thank you everybody for being here. Sorry about the coughing. It's just a fact of life these days with allergies and everything. What's my Discord happy? If somebody can do a bang Discord, or let me get ready, I'll do a bang Discord real fast. There's our Discord server. Feel free to jump in and join the Discord server. We can chat out there. I'm Digital Dragon 72 pretty much everywhere. So Go happy. I'll reach out to you. But thanks everybody for being here, and I will see you guys on the next stream, which will be, what is today? Today's Saturday. We will have a Tuesday stream. We will not have a Thursday stream next week because we'll be traveling to MRRF. Or at least I don't plan on doing a stream from the hotel room. Hey, K2 Kevin. Woke up late. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're getting ready to jump out to shenanigans. And I'm going to go down to OTTOeject and work on your project thing. So I will see you guys later. Bye, all. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, thank you so much for being here, hanging out through the stream. I tend to do some long streams and some short streams as well. But if you like the content and the projects that we're working on, feel free to subscribe, click the bell, make sure you're notified of future videos, and YouTube's going to be suggesting another video for you over here. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye now.